Man, I'm shouting at everybody today. I'm shouting at all the homies, okay? I got the Blue Pelican hat on. Shout out to Blue Pelican Clothing. Go get your merch. And I'm wearing my boy Poise. I know it's a little washed out because my washing machine is really aggressive. But shout out to my boy Poise. If you're not subscribed to Poise, you go over and check his channel out right now. On his latest video, say CK sent you, okay? You will not regret it. Poise is comedy. I love people. But enough of that. One thing I'm not loving, and a lot of you guys could agree with, is Charles Oakley right now, man. Charles Oakley is just, he continues to be on this warpath to get us to hate him. I don't know, man. Oakley has not been aging well with us Knicks fans. We were with you a little bit with the whole James Dolan situation. We can all agree that that was not right. There were things that he did that wasn't right as well on his side, but then it just has gone in a downward spiral where I'm just not there. But right now, all the reports are saying Charles Oakley blames Patrick Ewing for the Knicks' failure to conquer Michael Jordan. You know, we've already talked about how Oakley has questioned Patrick Ewing's leadership, which is a bunch of crazy things that I don't know if I necessarily agree with them. Ian Begley dropped this tweet that I saw this morning where it was talking about Oakley's stock amongst Knicks fans is dropping very, very rapidly. And unfortunately, it's kind of true, but I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about it. I don't know. But unfortunately, this video is not about Oakley. So enough of that and let's get into the video. What's going on, CK Crew? It's your boy CK2K, and welcome back to another video. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and don't forget to like this video. And I'm not playing with y'all, man. Go check out Blue Pelican and go show my boy Poise some love on YouTube. Go to Poise's channel and tell him on the latest video that CK sent you. CK2K sent you. And of course, go get, you know, the best merch in the game, CK2K merch over the CK2K shop. I'm just here plugging everybody, okay? I got love for all the people that support me, and I support them back. So shout out to everybody. I'm in a very given mood, which is why I'm making today's video, because I've been asked this question several times. Now, a lot of the real Knicks fans know that this is not the first time this rumor has come about when it comes to Chris Paul and the Knicks. And now, because we're in quarantine and we're running out of things to talk about, there's a report once again talking about Chris Paul possibly being traded to come to the Knicks. I did briefly talk about it. We briefly talked about it over on Knicks Fan TV with CP and Jay Ellis. We talked about this when the rumor first initially came out. And now with the rumor coming again, to be honest, my sentiment is the same. I will believe it when I see it. As far as the argument and the news side about it, am I for it? Yes, I'm 100% for it. I think that's a good way to flip some of these contracts that won't be here long term. Even if we have to give up on one of the younger guys like a Kevin Knox or Dennis Smith Jr., I would not want it to be that case, especially in the case of Kevin Knox. I really believe there's a way to make this move without moving Kevin Knox. We probably have to move like a Randall or something like that. I'm okay with that. I mean, some of these trade scenarios I've seen, I haven't had no problem with. I mean, even financially, I'm more comfortable doing it coming into the last, I think, 2 years of his contract now rather than doing it at the beginning of the season when it was 3 years. And I'll be honest, and maybe it's fickle, it's mainly because of what I saw him do with Oklahoma City Thunder. I feel like after his Houston Rockets tenure that last season when he got traded, you know, Chris Paul, a lot of people were thinking, because he did not look great the way he ended out that season with Houston. He was looking like he was wearing down a bit. He wasn't looking like the Chris Paul of old, and that big contract was looking like it was just not worth the player that we were seeing on the court. But then he completely flipped that narrative and showed that he is still Chris Paul. What you see is what you're going to get from Chris Paul. And to be honest, that guy, I have no problem coming on my Knicks. I know the question then comes up, what about LaMelo Ball? What about Killian Hayes? What about Cole Anthony? What about any of these point guards we get? I don't see how this affects any of those point guard prospects in any way, shape, or form. The point of Chris Paul to me would be that energy, that energizer to pump up the New York Knicks, especially with this new regimen ran by Leon Rose. I feel like Chris Paul would be that perfect way to get the Knicks back in the good graces of free agents and get in good graces of other players in the league that always have that feeling of, I want to be a Knick, but do I want to be a Knick? I think Chris Paul helps push that forward. And not to mention, to have a guy like Chris Paul for LaMelo Ball, Cole Anthony, any of these guys, like, that's going to be nothing but it a plus because they're so young. 2-3 years of Chris Paul is going to help these guys in the long term. I keep telling you guys, I don't care how great they start in their career from year 1 to year 4. It's a 4-year process, in my opinion, before you start seeing the players turn into who you should expect them to be long term. Either you're a Zion Williamson that comes in first year and he's taking over the league, or you're a Brandon Ingram. Crazy how they're both on the Pelicans. It takes a few years before you start to see what the product really is. I feel like to have a Chris Paul on your team and be able to be that person in that player's ear all the way through, I think that means a lot for these kind of guys. And I have no problem with Chris Paul coming through. And then the other argument too from the previous time we talked about this was finances. And to be honest, we got a lot of money available in our cap. We got cap. And this is the first time we can successfully say this. And I truthfully don't believe that this kind of trade, especially depending on who we move for him, I really truly believe that bringing in Chris Paul, even though he's going to be an expensive contract, won't really genuinely hurt us cap wise if we're trying to look to bring in anybody else, because we don't really have any big contracts, especially if we're trading them to get Chris Paul. So that's a bullet I'm biting, more so now than at the end of his time with the Houston Rockets. Again, call me fickle, but a lot of you guys were thinking it. Then this man went to OKC. No one thought it would work. They had 3, almost 4 point guards on this team over in Oklahoma City, and they made it work perfect. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's obviously going to be the leading point guard for this team in the long run, who played the majority of his time with this team, he worked really well with Chris Paul. To put Chris Paul next to a guy like Frank Ntilikina, to put him next to a guy like LaMelo Ball, or hell, even put him next to a guy like RJ Barrett, I think those are all situations that can work. I get it. Like I said, Shai is a much better offensive player, but at the same time, Shai is not a guy that's known for his jumper yet. It's improving, it's getting there, but he's still not known for his jumper as of yet, and they made it work. So to me, it makes a lot of sense, and that's just from the basketball perspective. Now, going back to the human family person perspective, that also makes the most sense of anything else. We all know the story about how Leon Rose represented Chris Paul for as long as he has been, and the connection that Chris Paul and Leon Rose have as a family. Same goes for Carmelo Anthony, and I feel like those are the kind of things that help make this trade a little bit more realistic. I mean, Chris Paul gave Oklahoma City all he had. I mean, Chris Paul really went in and he embraced Oklahoma City. The only people that were talking about moving him or trading or doing anything was the media. Never came out of Chris Paul's mouth. He loved playing for OKC. Again, this is the second time he played for OKC, even though last time it was a way of the New Orleans Hornets. He loved playing for that city and he embraced it, and he really showed it on the court. But for a trade or something like this to happen, I feel like it'd be something that it would be a mutual agreement to want to do. It wouldn't be Chris Paul, of course, obviously it'd be via trade, but Chris Paul would come to the Knicks and he would embrace what it would mean to come here and play for the Knicks. The Thunder was a team that was not looked in the eyes of many to be a playoff team from the jump. People probably put them fighting for that 8 seed. They're very comfortably up in that 5, 6, 7 seed race. I'm not saying that he would come to the Knicks and instantly make us a playoff team, but I'm not taking that out of the cards. Let's be real. The rebuild is something that we need to do, and especially if we're doing it the same way the Thunder do it, and I'm hoping that that would be the case, especially with Scott Perry being made the full-time GM for at least another season, where we would be running with Chris Paul at the point guard or whatever it may be, and we're embracing the talent of all of our younger guys and not just going out and getting Chris Paul and then now having to trade and try to get all these veteran players that might work for a few years and we have another, because I want it to be a long-term deal. And I really feel the same result would come of the Knicks that came with the Thunder. I feel like you put Chris Paul in a situation with guys like RJ Barrett, hell, Mitchell Robinson. Let's remember Chris Paul's best years were with a guy named Tyson Chandler. Mitchell Robinson, no disrespect to Tyson Chandler, to me, in my opinion, is further ahead than Tyson Chandler was at that point in his career. We're in year 2, year 3 of Mitchell Robinson, and he's already taking over NBA records and doing a lot of good things right. We got the fouling issue, of course. We got to get the confidence up but I feel like Chris Paul is the guy to get that and unlock that from Mitch Robinson. So to me, there's way more positives than negatives to get Chris Paul. And if this is a realistic deal, realistic thing that is going to be considered by the New York Knicks, I'm 100% behind it. I'm all for it. I think it would be dope. But what are you guys thinking? Do you guys think this is a bad move? Do you think that this would be fast forwarding the process and stopping us from this rebuild? And do you think that this is going to be the beginning of another very rough few years of Knicks basketball, where we're going to be trying for contract and after contract after contract rather than developing the guys we have? Or do you think, like me, that there's a way that they can balance the both and Chris Paul would just be the Energizer Bunny to bringing back winning, a culture in New York? And I feel like this also has a big thing to do with whoever we bring in as our head coach next season, whether it stays as Mike Miller, whether it's Kenny Atkinson, whoever it may be. I feel like all of these things are well aligned to help the Knicks get into those phases of going to that next level and playing good basketball. Even though this Chris Paul thing would be a great setup for the years to come, which is a good thing in the Knicks case. If we can have that setup where we are fighting for the 8th seed year in, year out, we're fighting for the 7th seed year in, year, like those are the kind of seasons that I would be okay with while we're slowly building to become a team that maybe one day can be talking about being at the top of the league. But the thing is, baby steps. I much rather us take the baby step approach rather than fast forward the process. And I feel like Chris Paul is the better of both evils, where it would be helping us take a little jump start, but also helping us with the baby steps. But it all comes down to management and how they handle the situation if they go the Chris Paul route. But let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree with this? Do you not agree with it? Let me know what you're thinking. You know the deal. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this video, hit that notification bell. Don't forget to like this video. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you get yourself some of the CK Crew merch. Link is in the description below. But I am out of here. Okay, CP3, I'm all with it. Come to the Knicks, come to the Garden. I think it would be dope. I think it'd be really cool. I think it would be a fun little transition, especially if we do end up getting our point guard this year in the draft. It'd be a fun transition between CP3 and whoever is next. I think it's wishful thinking. Still not completely buying it, but if it were to happen, I'm for it. It's your boy CK. Catch you guys in the next video. Let's get it. I'm out of here, and peace.
Feeling like I won the lotto. Always taking trips with a new chick, asking where the time goes. And I wonder if this is all I'll know.